Everybody. Today we were going to be talking about really kind of diving into sensory regulation in relation to the holidays, but this stuff is so helpful year round. So I'm really excited to do that. And this is a companion kind of follow up to the holidays home and sensory needs workshop that we had. Oh, hold on just a second. Approve that. Okay. This is a follow up to last month's workshop, the holidays home and sensory needs. So if you missed that, that is up on my YouTube channel right now. You can go and look at that. But I got so much feedback when from that. And then also when preparing, I realized that you can only be as regulated as you are kind of self-aware and kind of prepared to be. And so that's what I think makes this conversation today so helpful. So yeah, this is going to be kind of like what happens after you set those initial boundaries. So I introduced, or I brought in my friend Megan, who is a licensed therapist in LA and a board certified coach for clients across the country. So she specializes in anxiety and emotional self-regulation and is a creator of the Anxiety Breakup Coaching Program and also trains coaches and uses the restoration model and equips them with just kind of a practical framework to help their clients. So she's not only helping her people, but helping people to help their people. So really helping people exponentially. And I know her as one of my favorite people in the world. So while I've not technically benefited from her professional services, I've definitely benefited from her friendship and the long, winding conversations that we have. So I guess indirectly, I probably have gotten some of her good stuff. So I'm excited to share her with you guys today. So Megan, if you just want to do like a little intro and just kind of let us know anything else about yourself that you want to do that,
Yeah.
and then we will jump into conversation.
Yeah. Um, I have definitely benefited from your design skills. So I think we have
Thank you.
traded that over the years.
Thank you.
Can we drop into
And hair
therapy? Can we
products.
drop into and hair products? Yes. The list is long. Yeah, you did a great job introing me. So yeah, I work in Los Angeles in the South Bay area in Redondo Beach, work with couples and I work with adults on emotional self-regulation. And over the years in my coaching practice and in therapy, have sort of found a corner in working particularly with different forms of anxiety. And I really, it sounds weird to say, but I really like working with anxiety. I like helping people turn the volume down. We think of anxiety as too much of something. And so I really enjoy helping people turn the volume down. And it's so perfect that we're having this conversation finally, because I feel like that's essentially what you do in
Mm,
design work is turn the volume down so you can
yeah.
move in your life in a way that is peaceful and regulated. And I help people do that emotionally and in their thought life. So yeah, I can't believe it's taken us this long to have the
I
conversation.
know. I
Kind of
I
funny.
agree. In fact, I was on a podcast with another friend a few weeks ago, and she's in the kind of financial world, so she helps families
Mm,
in that way. And when we started talking, we realized like how our approach of how we do our jobs, it's doing the same thing. So like what you're talking about is kind of like turning volume down over here, taking away stress, taking and I think a lot of us that serve people, serve the community, that is kind of what we are all doing, just in different aspects.
yeah,
So I'm excited that
yeah,
we're collaborating and there's less silo because it kind of is all connected. So
absolutely.
that's kind of
Absolutely.
exciting.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, well, let's get started with the first section, which is the emotional cost of all of these healthy boundaries and
Hmm.
healthy sensory. Hey, I'm aware of my sensory needs now. I'm going to put these things in place, and then what next? What has happened?
Yeah, what
What have I
happens?
done?
Yeah. So I love this question and I love that frame. I think one of the things to just know is when I see this in my clients all the time, when I start to make healthy choices or boundary decisions, that doesn't automatically mean I'm going to feel great.
Mhm.
Maybe on the neurological level, I can feel good, right? That can feel good to say no to that party, or it can feel good to say, we're not going to put up as much decorations this year, right? Whatever the
Mhm.
choices or the boundaries that we're going to make. But then what can happen is this secondary emotion,
Mhm.
which is some version of anxiety or stress that can happen.
Mhm. Yeah,
And it
I
can,
mean,
and it,
especially when you
yeah,
get that text from your mom, your friend,
yes,
your sister, like,
yes,
what do you mean you're not blah, blah, blah? What,
right.
and then you're like, oh, I felt so good about that choice. And now
Hmm.
how do I navigate that?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a perfect example. Because the message, like, can we riff on that a little bit? Like, what would be the
Yeah.
message you got if you got a message from your sister that said, "Hey, you
Hmm.
always come to this thing. Why aren't you coming?" Right?
Hmm.
That's a question, right?
Hmm.
But what's the
There's
message
some
that you
layers.
get?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
As in, what do I think the subtext is? Like, what do I think she's really asking? Or, okay,
Yeah, what's the message or the maybe even just the message or the feeling that you have there when you get that pushback?
sure. I would get like, maybe it's something that, hey, you're opting out of this. Like, we can't just all opt out. Like, where are you getting to opt out? Like, I'm still
Hmm.
doing it, so you should. So maybe some
Mm.
of
So
that.
like, yeah, some message of like you're being bad or you're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, we can't, yeah, just
Or
opt.
you're selfish, you get to do something that we don't get to do, right? Like depending on
Mm-hmm.
who you are,
Yeah.
that's such a great example. And so one of the things that I really love to help my clients with is just identify what's the message you get when you get some message like this. You get a
Mm-hmm.
text or your kids walk in the room and say, "Only one Christmas tree? We used to put up four
Mm-hmm.
Christmas trees around the house." Right? The message
Mm-hmm.
is, "I'm a disappointment.
Yeah,
I'm not," right? And I think the thing to recognize is it's not going to be the same thing for everyone else. That secondary
exactly.
feeling might be, "Oh, I'm letting someone down," or "Am I a bad mom?" or "Am I a
Mm-hmm.
bad sister?" Um, in the work that I do, generally speaking, there's two major buckets of primary emotion
Mm-hmm.
um, in the restoration model that we fall into. Either some message about our identity, um,
Mm-hmm.
kind of how we are, who we are, or some message about our safety, which is social. Like it's not
Mm-hmm.
safety like, oh no, I'm in a dark alley all by myself. It's more safety socially, right? So
Yeah.
those are the two buckets that I would say, oh, if we can start to recognize I'm having some questions about my safety if I don't show up to this party. Again, not I'm in a
Your place in the
vehicle,
community.
my place in
That
the
that's
community.
that safety of, yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I would say for clients that I work with is they wouldn't say I feel unsafe or I feel like my identity or who I am is in question, but they would say things like I feel guilty, I feel
Hmm.
stressed, I
Hmm.
feel anxious. So if we're saying things
And
like I
even
feel
the FOMO.
guilty or fear of missing out,
Right. Like,
absolutely,
I've made this
right?
decision and now I'm like, uh, was that the right one?
Yeah, which I
Interesting.
would categorize if you're self-doubting, I
Hmm.
put that under the anxiety category. So in my program,
Hmm.
we like deeply define what anxiety is, and there is
Yeah.
anxiety in your thoughts, anxiety in your behavior, and anxiety in your body. And
Hmm.
if you know, and I think it's really helpful for people to identify, oh, self-doubt, going over a decision, going over and over it, that's a form of
Hmm.
anxiety.
Interesting. I never would
Yeah.
have thought that, but that's so helpful
Hmm.
to hear, I think, because you can take some of that seriously or have tools to use. I know that we're going to get to
Hmm.
some of that in a little bit, but
Yeah.
tools to like address that and be like, okay, this discomfort is okay. It's to be expected when doing something new.
Hmm.
And here's how
Yes.
you navigate it.
Yeah. And I would even say, like, a step you could add, noticing the discomfort and knowing it's normal and it's okay when I'm making a new decision.
Hmm.
Um, and then recognizing what I'm doing with the discomfort is
Hmm.
huge.
Yeah.
So for me, if I say no to something, I feel, well, I don't struggle with this as much. For me, it might be a little bit different. But if someone says no to something, I am pretty strong with boundaries. I actually struggle to say yes. I think saying yes
Okay.
is
Yeah.
actually my growth move. So
Okay.
everyone's different. Um, but if I said no and I'm feeling that distress, um, noticing the distress and then being like, Megan, what are you doing with that? oh, I'm
Hmm.
overthinking this. I'm replaying how I said no, or I'm overthinking that text message, or
Hmm.
I'm venting to my husband about it. I can't believe she texted me. What does she mean if I'm like going over and over with
Yeah.
somebody else, which is basically externalized ruminating.
Oh,
Um,
interesting. I've never thought
basically I'm
about,
and it's a bid for like help tell me I'm okay. If I talk to you,
yeah,
I'm looking for some
that
signal
makes
of I'm
sense.
okay. Yeah. So being able to recognize I feel distress and saying, oh, this is what I'm doing. Sometimes what I'm doing is just I'm being irritable, right? I'm being short with my
Hmm.
family.
Hmm.
But the power of being able to be able to say, oh, I feel distressed, I feel stressed, or I feel unsure about
Hmm.
this new boundary. That doesn't feel good. And here's what I'm doing. That's not the whole story, but that gets you in a position to do something different, which most people don't do. Your community is so interested in doing something new, so they're primed to do this work, which is amazing.
Hmm.
Even setting a boundary or deciding to have a sensory aware environment
Yeah,
are people who
true.
are interested in changing the story and changing the
Yeah,
experience. So
absolutely.
anyway, I just think it's just taking it to the next level internally.
Yeah. Okay. Well, which kind of takes us naturally into that next level is recognizing when you're dysregulated and what happens with that. So, like, what coping behaviors are you kind of using?
Hmm.
And that before we can regulate, we do need to like
Hmm.
recognize when we're overwhelmed. So, just kind of identifying those overwhelm responses, like you just said, the irritable,
Yeah.
saying yes, over functioning is one that I think would be,
Yeah.
because I think that one to me, because I think that's definitely one I struggle with. I would not
Yeah.
put that in the coping category until we were talking about it. And I was like, hold on, what is overfunctioning? And then you were like listing me. And I'm like, okay, all right, that's something that
Yeah.
doesn't have to happen. So share with that because I think that's one that's not super
Yeah.
commonly known.
So let me give a top level and then I'll go into the overfunctioning. So the four general categories that when we feel overwhelmed, there's typically four categories that we fall into. um, Blame, shame, control, or escape. And those are
Mhm.
different versions of fight or flight, but they're just social, right? So if you're in the safari and you meet a tiger, it's fight or flight, right? I'm going to like
Mhm.
attack the tiger or I'm going to run. Personally, I
Right.
would run and scream at the top of my lungs.
Yeah.
Socially, that just looks a little different.
Hmm.
It's blame, which is more of an angry, aggressive response. I can't believe she texted me. Doesn't she know that that would make me upset, that she would ask me, right? That's blame. You're blaming the
Hmm.
person. Shame is more of this self-blame. It's an internal aggression towards yourself. Oh,
Okay.
see, I am ridiculous. My needs are overwhelming to people, or
I was wrong
I
in
was
saying no to that
wrong to,
event.
yes,
Okay.
exactly. What's wrong with me? I can't
And
believe I
that I
have
can't
this
handle it.
diagnosis so that I have.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's the aggressive towards yourself.
Yeah. And I think that that one is so big. I think shame is so big in the neurodivergent community because the
Yeah.
world is made for neurotypical people. So when we can't hack it, we do commonly
Yep.
say like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I
Yes.
just do the thing normal people do?
Yes.
Handle those holiday stimulation,
Why can't I be normal? Right?
yeah,
Why I have
yeah.
clients say that to me all the time. Like, why can't I just be normal? And I'm
Hmm.
like, that on some level is a shame response, right? There's
Yeah.
something wrong with me
Hmm.
that I can't hack it. Yeah. And then the other two are control. Control is I see a problem and I won't yell at someone about it or get aggressive. I will manage the heck out of it. I will be perfect. I will give people everything they need without thinking about my own needs. I will micromanage.
Hmm.
I will be perfect. Did I already say that one? Maybe, right? But it's
Yeah.
basically control is I will manage other people or I will manage the environment so that I feel my identity or my sense of love is intact or my safety is intact. And
Hmm.
then we'll go back to that one because that's where overfunctioning comes in.
Mm.
The fourth one is escape, and that one is like I'm gonna numb, right? Which is what we
Yeah,
do when we jump on social media. It's what we do when we have the
totally.
extra drink. It's what we do when we
Hmm.
Netflix too hard or just go online shopping, right? It's I don't want to
Hmm.
deal, and
Hmm.
so I will back off,
Hmm.
which
I've
is not
noticed,
the same.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's not the same thing as a boundary decision. I think that has to
Totally.
be clear because some people are saying no because they're numbing and they're like, I'm just not gonna
Yeah.
decide. I'm gonna back off.
Oh, yeah, that's
But
interesting.
boundaries are choices. There, I see the options and I'm gonna make a choice. I might put up one Christmas tree, or we're not gonna decorate outside this year. That's too much
Hmm.
for the season of life that we're in.
Hmm.
Not forget Christmas, we're not doing anything. That's
Right.
escape.
Okay. Yeah. So I think it boils down to intentional decisions. Like, I'm going to take a
Mm-hmm.
minute or, you know, a week or however long you need
Mm-hmm.
and kind of really
Yeah.
think through what feels best for our family this year.
Yeah.
And how are we going to do that and kind of pull it off
Mm-hmm.
and making the decisions as opposed to making decisions out of like that fight or flight, possibly that kind of gut
Yes,
response where I'm
exactly.
just like, stop, everybody, stop.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I
Mm-hmm.
start mass unsubscribing to things. And I'm
Yes.
just like, I
Doesn't that feel
need,
so good?
yeah, oh,
Uh-huh.
it does.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But no, that over functioning, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I even realized some of that escape. I mean, yeah, I can get on and scroll. But one of my, like, I know when I am like drained, apparently, it's Zillow. I will get on Zillow and
Hilarious.
I will
Yes.
analyze houses and I'll be like, oh, I do that different. Oh, but what about this neighbor? Oh, what do you, I mean, and I'm just like, what am I doing? I am spending so much energy that, like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I got on here because I don't have energy right now. And
Yep.
yet here I am, like, but I think that could
That's
possibly
funny.
be the ADHD brain just not turning off easily. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, it could be. I mean, I think uh, so. We get a hit of dopamine when we're productive as well, which is different. The neurodivergent
Mhm.
community experiences that differently. But there might be a part of you that feels productive somehow because it is
Mhm.
in your
Maybe.
field somewhat.
Well,
I,
intake of information and research, like that is
yeah,
definitely something for me that's like makes my brain happy.
yeah, yeah. The over functioning piece, I always put that in the control category because um, my heart goes out to over functioners. I think I'm a recovering over functioner. And I
Well
really,
done.
well, it's a
Okay.
journey,
I
but
mean, I think
when
all
I,
of our tendencies are probably going to be lifelong journeys. Like none of this
they'll
is
be
going to be,
lifelong.
yeah.
They'll be lifelong. But I can definitely, when I'm working with clients who haven't gone on the journey yet, and we can see that they almost feel like they don't have a choice about what they say yes to. I'm
Mm-hmm.
typically talking to someone who's over functioning. And I have clients who
Mm-hmm.
work full-time jobs and are moms and run help out with a charity or in their church community. And they are just like they're doing all the things. And what
Mm-hmm.
they tell me behind closed doors is, Megan, I really want to do all of these things. Now, these are women in their 20s, 30s, in their 40s. By the time they're 50, they're not saying that anymore. They're burnt out and they're exhausted, and we're working on it. We're working on resentment and we're working on saying no in a way where they're like, no, I really am done. I'm so
Yeah.
over, I'm either physically sick or I'm really tired.
Yeah.
But I've noticed for women and men in their 20s and 30s, if you're in a over functioning position, a lot of times they'll say to me, Megan, I want to go to all those things. I want to say yes to these things.
Yeah.
And I think part of the work that I help people recognize is like you get to be human and you were only given one body.
Mm. So true. So, and I love that
We're
you're
only
able to
given
see
one. Hmm.
the kind of the evolution of if you're this way in this decade of life, it eventually kind of turns into this and this. And I think that's just very
Yeah.
helpful insight that, a lot of us don't get to have. And so I'm really glad that like I think that message should be shared because
Yeah.
we we do we don't live in a vacuum. And so there's things that we're going to grow in different ways, or I don't even, it may not even be growth because you're just kind of like stumbling along if you're not being intentional about
Yeah.
changing the story,
Yeah.
changing the
Yep.
end of the story, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's hard. I think a lot of stress, um, my compassion goes out to people because I think when we're over functioning or when we're feeling excessive guilt or anxiety, it
Hmm.
really is like we're trying to do the best we can to be connected to people in our lives and manage our own internal state. And the struggle, I say this all the time, is the answer isn't one extreme or another, it's the middle place. And the middle place is the discerning place, which is really harder because it would be much easier to say, control every single thing or numb out. That is
Hmm.
easier
Those
because
are
it's
the
very
extremes of it.
extremes.
Yeah,
hmm What we're saying is discernment and wisdom, and what you said, like the season that I'm in or the context of our family life,
right.
or we haven't talked about values, but just what do we value as a family? Um,
Hmm.
and making those discernment decisions means sometimes it's yes, I do make the homemade cupcakes from scratch because that's what I'm going to value this season.
Hmm.
But other times I'm ordering out a lot.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And we will get to that specifically because I think that there is a lot that falls on us and understanding that there can be some give and take when we think about it again intentionally. And I think that's probably going to be the big
Mhm.
takeaway from this is it, and it seems to be the message I've heard my entire life. Even going back to a child like Rachel, just slow down and think about
Mm,
that. Slow down, you
yes.
know, think before you talk, all of these things. And it really, if we take those minutes to slow down, because our world is not built for slow. It
No.
is built for just boom, 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 right? And so
No.
I think
Yes.
the benefit of us taking some time to really process what we value, um, and make decisions out of that place is
Yes.
huge. It's huge. Okay, so in
Yes.
the moments though, in the moments where we feel these things, what are some like
hmm
micro interventions?
hmm
We want to think about it, and I have it on my to-do list, but I haven't yet, and I'm feeling stressed right now. And so, like, what do I
hmm
do with that? As far as, I mean,
Um,
there's that
you
30
mean like
second
if I
pause
made
we
a
talked
if
about.
Yep. So
Mhm.
you're saying like in a moment where I'm feeling some distress or some stress, even that could be about making a boundary decision, or I made the boundary decision, right?
Totally.
Or
Yeah.
I made a sensory aware decision, and
Hmm.
maybe there's things that are following up with that. I think the pause is huge. I mean, what you just said is so much regulation would happen if people did what you just said, which is slow down.
Hmm.
Anxiety moves incredibly fast. And that makes sense because if you are
Yeah.
in the jungle and you meet a tiger, you want a quick response. There's not time to like reflect and journal and do
Hmm.
some deep
Hmm.
breathing. You need to make a fast
Yeah.
decision,
Yeah.
but recognizing this is not a fight or flight moment. This isn't life or death. And so you get to stop. So it sounds ridiculously simple, but the moment you realize distress, I would love the first intervention for anyone to be pause. And the next thing, and that could be quite literally 30 seconds. Then it takes about, if you're really hitting some emotional feelings,
Hmm.
it takes about 90 seconds for stress hormones to clear if we're not continuing to add to them. So if
Okay.
you actually feel stressed in a moment and you just decide to pause, and I can introduce a breath that I think is super efficient, and you choose to breathe, you've got about a minute and a half before you're
Hmm.
probably on the biological level and neurological level in a little bit of a better position to make a prefrontal cortex decision, which is your
Yeah.
adult brain decision. So
Yes.
I it's sort of like the simplest thing sometimes is the easiest thing, but letting yourself pause and then breathe. And my favorite type of breath is the physiological sigh. This is a natural breath that actually babies and kids do when they're really dysregulated. It's that kind of
Okay.
when you're really sobbing, do you notice what kids do?
Mhm.
They do that
Yeah.
little like,
Yes.
yeah, and I don't, dogs do it too. I don't know if your dog does it,
Okay.
but sometimes if they're sleeping, dogs will do it.
Uh-huh.
So this has been researched. Basically, you've discovered that this is one of the most efficient ways um, to regulate your nervous system. So it's two
Okay.
breaths in through the nose without an exhale in between. So it looks like this. And then a long exhale through the mouth.
Okay. Nice. So it's like it's similar to box breathing in that you're kind of like inhaling, pausing,
Hmm.
exhaling,
Hmm.
pausing.
But we're
But it's like
making
a
the
double
key
thing.
feature, yeah, the key feature
Right.
is the double.
Okay.
It the double breath in gives you increased level of oxygen, and then
Hmm.
the really slow exhale out is basically your brain telling your heart and your heart communicating to your brain, we're not in fight or flight.
Yes. Yes. That's the big thing
We're
with that exhale.
okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I would say if you did two, I mean, sometimes people just need to do two of those and they feel
Hmm.
completely different. If you're really dysregulated or feeling some level of angst, and again, this isn't
Hmm.
like you have to be in a panic attack situation to feel
No,
this.
it
You
can
could
just,
just feel annoyed at the
hmm
text message,
I think I
right? So
probably could have used that this morning.
yeah, I could have too. I could have too. We both had friction in the morning related to
Yeah.
other things.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, I definitely I want to make this super um like the bar has to be really low. You can
Yeah.
just be minorly
So
my kid's
accessible.
frustrated at doing homework and if I chose to do a breath,
Yeah.
I'm in a better position again to use my adult brain, not my
Yeah.
reactive brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, so pause,
Huge.
breath, and then this is another very simple thing, but for my clients who struggle with different forms of anxiety, one of the things that I have them do is say hello to their anxiety or hello to their stress. And what do I mean is quite literally say, oh, there you are. You're feeling stressed. Hi, there you are. And it seems like you're a crazy
Hmm.
person because you're saying hello to yourself. But what we're doing is we're kind of separating out
Yes.
you from your
Hmm.
reaction.
Hmm.
Because if you say, hi, there you are, I'm already in a position of being a little bit more compassionate to that part of myself.
Oh,
Of
that is
course,
funny.
you're
I
feeling
agree.
stress. Of
Hmm.
course, you're feeling stress. You're doing a new boundary decision, or you decided to go against the grain because
Hmm.
you are on your journey of learning about what works for your body and works for your
Hmm.
family. No kidding, this is hard. You have not
Yeah.
ridden this type of bike before, right? This
Yeah.
is a new, but just saying hello, first of all, acknowledges its existence. You're feeling distressed or you're high anxiety, there you are. But I like the hi because you're saying hello like you'd say hello to a
To a
separate
friend.
person and
Yes.
kindly.
Yes. So this reminds me so much. About a month ago, I was feeling really frustrated personally, like with myself. And I was just like, ugh. And I thought, if any of my friends came to me with the issues I was irritated with about myself,
Hmm.
I would have been so gentle and kind and like, and I was like, okay,
Yes.
what would it look like to say, to treat that voice as separate like that and be
Hmm.
like, what would I tell Megan? And I'd be like, girl,
Yeah.
you have been in it
Hmm.
all fall.
Hmm.
These like give yourself some time and space because you're not a
Hmm.
robot. You can't just perform on demand. And I did
Yes.
that and I was like, that's literally what I would tell somebody and want them to
Uh-huh.
believe. And I was like, you
Yeah.
just treat yourself like a friend. And even if you have to have
Yes.
like naming your anxiety, like Nancy,
Hmm.
Nancy, thank you so much for trying
Hmm.
for talking to me right now,
Hmm.
but we don't need that right now, Nancy. Thank
Hmm.
you.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yep.
those are so good. That kind of I don't not depersonalizing, but
Hmm.
shifting that out of there.
Hmm.
I'm going to take a minute real quick. I forgot to mention this earlier. If anyone has any comments or questions, feel free to throw those in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
Try to get to them kind of as we go through and whatnot. Anyway,
Hmm.
that's an aside.
Yeah.
Megan. Um, Well, do you have a next spot or should we move into the next section? Or do
Um,
you have any more thoughts on it?
there's definitely, I mean, one of the things I'll say what the next steps are. I mean, this would be a little bit more of the deeper work, but one of the things that we do in the restoration model is once you've labeled the distress that you're feeling and then how you're coping, we move into something called regulating truths. And regulating truths are things that we figure out in the work, but they're basically like restoring, wait, reminding yourself about who you are and how you're safe in the world. And so, for someone who feels some social judgment, right? Like
Mhm.
reminding yourself, like, wait, no, I am okay. I'm deeply connected. I'm deeply connected. Maybe in that moment, it's to the person who's texted you, who's giving you grief for not coming. Like, no, we have a good relationship. Like, we're deeply connected. Or
Mhm.
I'm deeply connected to my partner or my bigger family. Like, I am not, because what we're saying on a tribal level, right? When our
Mhm.
body goes like, oh no, I feel really guilty about this, we're going back to basics. Like, am I going to get kicked out of the tribe? This is what we care
Mhm.
about in our survival brain. So reminding yourself you are deeply connected or you have people. And
Mhm.
here's how many people you need. You need one. Like if you're in a place in your life where you're like, I'm struggling with friendships
Yeah.
or I'm struggling with my marriage, you actually, it's okay. Like you actually just need to remember there's one person. And sometimes with my clients, I work on people who don't have someone alive. We're remembering, wait, I had a grandmother who loved me deeply and believed in me. And we can resource that as a truth of like, wait, I am someone who has been loved or has been
Yeah.
given safety to. So that's a bigger, longer, that could be a whole other talk,
Sure.
just
Yeah.
talking about regulating truths. But what we're basically doing is like we're sourcing for a truth about ourselves that settles the brain. And that takes some work to figure that out. And it
Hmm.
takes some work to practice it. But basically, we're letting the brain know, like, you actually are okay.
Yeah.
And that leads to the step four, which is how do I make a different decision? And in that moment, it's maybe I can let go of rumination. Maybe I can be honest with the text message example. Or maybe I
Hmm.
can be compassionate with my kid and say, you know what? I know you love decorating outside. That's something that you love so much. And I totally get that. But this year we're making a different decision,
Hmm.
right? And be so I can
Yeah.
be grounded in my decision and also compassionate.
Hmm.
All of that sort of grown up self, what I call
Totally.
your grown up voice, comes from a
Yeah.
place of knowing you're okay.
Hmm.
You're okay.
And instead of defending it,
Yes.
it's because I think our gut response is to get defensive of something and then perhaps start that like blame or, whatever. But with this, we're like,
Totally.
both things can be true. You can want to do that, and we're not going to do that. And you're okay, and I'm okay.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
this is so probably different than a lot of us grew up with, that this is Mhm. This is going to be a process of kind of learning and unlearning. And so, we can make some different decisions for these holidays, but this is kind of like, hey, how can we do these things not only that are going to benefit us year round, but
Mhm.
by the time the holidays roll around next year, we'll be more and more regulated, which
And I
is
think
so
one of the
great to
things, yeah, that is huge because that talks about practice,
hear.
anticipating what we do. But also, one of the things that you made me think about is one of when we're making new choices about our lives, one of the like the fourth step, like which if we're going through this idea of like naming your feelings, your coping, some truths about yourself, and then some like new behaviors, what can I do instead of getting anxious or getting defensive? One of the new behaviors, this is so simple, but it's tolerating other people's feelings.
Mm, hmm. That's not an easy one for me.
No,
Yeah, that's huge.
tolerating your kid's disappointment.
Yeah.
You articulated that,
Yes.
right? Like both things can be true.
Hmm.
Your sister can be disappointed you're not coming to that event. Your husband can feel frustrated that we've made limits, right?
Totally.
And that we can make sort of us decisions about that. Maybe we have to rethink the decision, But in terms of your internal
Yeah.
process, the word tolerate is huge in the work I do with my anxious clients. We're tolerating things that are unknown.
Hmm.
I don't know how it's going to go when I do this interview. I don't know how it's going to go when I uh, go out on this date with a person. I'm tolerating
Hmm.
things I don't know, but I'm also tolerating someone might have some bad feelings
Hmm.
and they
Yeah.
might be about me.
Yeah. But what's been really fun as I've grown through some of these things, and I think it goes back to that kind of like, is it macro view versus micro view? But when,
Hmm.
like, yeah, right now, they may be irritated, but you know what? My sister loves me. Like, and that's what
Hmm.
I come back to. My
Hmm.
friends love me. They choose
Yeah.
to hang out with me. I
Yeah.
mean, they can be irritated and love me. See, all these like this and this can be
Yes.
true. And so just remembering and getting that
That's huge.
perspective and being like, hey, this could be uncomfortable right now, but in the grand scheme of things,
Hmm.
I know it's all going to be okay. And that can help settle me down just with
Absolutely.
that kind of
That's, you
reframing.
just used a regulating truth, right? Like,
Oh,
wait, I know my sister loves me. She's irritated, but our relationship goes beyond
yeah.
this moment of irritation. We're going to get through this. You
Hmm.
just settled your brain and then you naturally moved into like, oh, I can tolerate this. I can work through this with
Yeah,
her.
okay.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Hmm.
It's really helpful to have, I guess, examples rather than just kind of these
Hmm.
logical principles or, things to use.
Hmm.
Because yeah, I think I don't realize what I'm doing sometimes with all of that. So
Yeah.
helpful
Yeah. I
having
mean,
that.
I think that's one of the things is like the pain cycle that we get into, which is what we call it in the restoration model, is so much of it is just articulating what we do, and the regulation is articulating some of these things that we are naturally doing. Like you took a perspective, like, oh, wait, my perspective is I can really remember I'm loved by my sister, or we have a good connection. That is a perspective or a mindset. We just call it regulating truth. But if you get to write that
Yeah.
down and
Yeah.
practice that, that's where the brain gets um, more practiced, and then and really like the
Yeah.
neural pathway for that can change where the dysregulation gets less.
Right. Okay. So I would say for those of us, kind of here and thinking about the holidays,
Hmm.
say we, you know, say no to that event that we usually do. The kids, we just notice that their bodies really shut down when we do that big. So we have a trail of lights here, and it's you're in the middle of the trail, you're in the middle of the trail. Like, and then we've gone through traffic, we've parked. We've gotten the buggy out. All these things, and it's cold. And so there's just all these sensory things. And so we're just like, you know what? We're not doing it with the kids this year. We're going to
Hmm.
do a neighborhood stroll, that's quieter and just more in line
Hmm.
with, I mean, this is a true story. I mean, going back like a decade
Yeah.
and a half. But for Jackson, we loved getting hot chocolate in the car and like, having those little traditions, going to a favorite restaurant, and then turning on Christmas music and driving through a neighborhood or walking when the weather was good.
Hmm.
But if your family had a tradition of going to the Trail of Light, which is this chaotic, fun thing, and you're like, this year we're going to do this different thing, and then feelings get hurt, what are some of those regulating truths that maybe it's good for you, but like, what is my responsibility to my mother-in-law or to the cousins who feel frustrated that I'm saying no to that? Like, do I have
Yep.
yeah, how do we handle that in a healthy way?
Yeah. I love the question, what's my responsibility? That is,
Mhm.
you're asking such a different type of question because a lot of times, a lot for women, not just women, but a lot of women see a need.
Mhm.
My mother-in-law's upset, and we
Mhm.
assume the need is ours to fix. We see the
Mhm.
need, we assume it's ours to fix. That's not always the case.
Right.
But I still think we are to be, generally speaking, people who want to love and connect with other people while
Mhm.
also caring for ourselves. And so I would say, what am I responsible for? Well, I would say you're responsible for being loving and kind while also maintaining your boundaries. And
Hmm.
typically, um, that means being compassionate and understanding and holding a
But not
boundary.
at the expense of, I mean, in this case, like I am a mom first. I'm putting my child's
Hmm.
feelings and all of that
Hmm.
kind of priority. And that just kind of, so I guess, yeah, just kind of understanding and being okay with the priority.
Yeah, I mean, and I think sometimes people aren't very open or vulnerable about their feelings. So you might be getting their coping reactions, right? They might
Sure,
be
totally.
stonewalling you, they're like closed off to you, or they might be critical,
Hmm.
or just withdrawn is often what we do. So if you want to maintain connection, but also recognize there might be some feelings, I like making the covert overt is sort of a phrase that I use. Like
Okay.
instead of this covert conversation where we're dancing around, I would say, hey, I want to acknowledge we're changing this. I want to also acknowledge like this has been something we really have done and have loved. And I don't know how that feels for you, but I
Hmm.
would imagine it might not feel great.
Yeah.
And depending on the health of the person,
Hmm.
they might be willing to say, yeah, I'm sad or disappointed. If they're not willing to share, they would probably more passive and say like, no, whatever, you do your own thing, right? Or something like that. You can,
Right.
you basically, you're not in charge of that.
But
That's where your
then you can kind of
responsibility
let it go
ends.
because you're just like,
Yes.
yes, totally. I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Okay, we are kind of winding down with our time, but Ashley's got a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
So she just wanted to confirm, like, you did say you have a problem kind of saying yes? And
Hmm.
any suggestions for public speaking when dealing with the aforementioned fast-moving anxiety?
So I do have a problem saying yes. But what I meant by that is my for some people their instinct is to say yes to things. Like
Mhm.
default, they feel like they have to say yes, or they just often say yes before their brain thinks about it.
Totally.
My
And Ashley, feel free to unmute and kind of like dialogue
yeah.
and if you want to chat with Megan about like specifically where you were headed with that too.
Hmm. Yeah. My default is no. So if I'm asked to volunteer at my church, my default is no, no.
Hmm.
I have to hold my
That's so
boundaries.
awesome. It's so awesome. I love that
But
as a
it's
natural response.
I know, but it's problematic because there's a we could have a whole other conversation about this,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
there's that means I have maybe less connection, or I'm more so, like I work on like, wait, I can be giving.
Mhm.
I can lean towards holding back too much. And so the work for me is no, you have enough, Megan. You can give here. You can say yes to hosting this thing on Wednesday nights during this
Mhm.
season. So yeah. And then the question was about public like anxiety related to public speaking. Was that it, Rachel?
Yeah, just kind of like get that fast moving anxiety. Yes.
Hmm. Yeah. So it depends if this is anticipatory anxiety or in the present. So if it's like, oh, I'm speaking in 4 days and I'm anxious about it then versus I am backstage and I'm about to go on stage. Those are two different types of anxiety. Um, So I would say one of the things that's most helpful in the present moment is calming the body and visualization. And so calming the body is doing the breath work again, the physiological sigh. And you guys can Google physiological sigh if you want to watch someone
Mhm.
do that. But then visualizing. So I have people close their eyes and I have them picture whether they're public speaking on Zoom or public speaking in person. Picture yourself walking up to the podium, picture yourself speaking. And then I always have them have their first like 3 to 4 sentences memorized. I come from a dancing background, so choreography is something I did in college. And I would make sure that the body knew the first like 4 8 counts backwards and forwards because I knew my anxiety would be high. And so I needed the
Mhm.
muscle memory to be there so that when my body catches up and I'm back to being present, then I can sort of relax and do my dance, and the same thing for speaking. So those are like three ideas: breathing, visualization, picture yourself doing it, because that's practice for the brain. And then um, having your like first few lines memorized. Those are my like
Okay.
quick tips.
My quick question about the middle one, and y'all feel free to throw anything in the chat that y'all might have as well, even if it's something we didn't cover. Okay, so the middle one, are you picturing, this might be getting too technical. Are you picturing the audience, or are you picturing like, unlike what you are seeing, or are you like looking down on yourself and like watching you walk to the stage? Does it even
So you're
matter?
saying, are you, I see what you're saying. Are you saying like, are you watching it like you're watching a show, or are you in your person, like first
Yes.
person?
Yeah.
Yeah. I picture the first person
Okay.
because I want to embody it. So I want to be,
Okay.
if we're talking video game, right? Like I am the
Yeah.
one holding holding
Okay.
the weapon, right?
Yeah.
So I'm holding my notes. I look down, I see my notes. And obviously you're
Okay.
picturing it going well. You're
Totally.
picturing what it
Yes.
feels like.
There's a
That's
caveat. Yeah.
key. Yes. Yeah.
Everyone's applauding and receptive.
Well, actually, I wouldn't even say what goes well is other people's responses. I would say like, who are you in your best
Okay.
version of yourself? So how is
Yeah.
your posture? And
Okay.
then closing your eyes is really helpful because your brain can really go there. And I often ask people, do you know the room you're going to be speaking in? And if they say yes, often they know. We sit in session and we close your eyes and we visualize it. And you mentioned the audience. I would say, I don't need you to know everyone in the audience, but is there one safe person for you in the audience? Is there one person who's like got your back and who believes in you and loves
Mm,
you? And in work settings, that's sometimes like who just champions you or thinks you're
sure.
great at your job.
Yeah.
And if they don't have that person, I'm like, well, then let's put someone there, right? In the
Invent one.
visual.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagination. So we have
I
that.
did this for test anxiety. So I
Okay.
personally struggled with test anxiety. And so I would picture my husband cheering me on when I
Yeah.
was like going to take some big licensing exam. Um, and the brain loves that. Like the brain literally is like, oh, we're actually here. It literally can't really discern what we're visually seeing if
Yeah.
we're in our eyes. It's like, oh, you're actually in this experience. So
Yeah.
this is like a fun
Okay.
tip.
That is a fun a little
Yeah.
bonus. I
Mm-hmm.
like it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so those are the questions that have come through so far. So I guess we will just kind of wrap up I think the question I wanted to, um, or the things I kind of wanted to summarize then is we just really want to acknowledge that those healthy boundaries do create new emotions. That's normal.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that learning to pause and notice it. And then, so what would you say as far as like next steps? People are like, I'm all in on this. I kind of want a partner in this. Would you recommend a more of a coach, more of a therapist? Like who are some good, or just, like some besties who are like, hey, I want to do this
Mm-hmm.
better. What are
Mm-hmm.
some ways that we can take this from this year and be like, next year at this time, I'm going to be more empowered?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say based on what we talked about, I would try the stuff on. I would try the pause. I would try the breath. I would try acknowledging some of the coping behaviors you're doing,
Mhm.
and see it. Sometimes that like is enough to make the shift. Um, I don't think we automatically need a coach or we automatically need a therapist to do this work. I think depending on the severity, consciousness and insight is huge. Like, oh, I didn't
Mhm.
realize, you said, I didn't realize ruminating or self doubt was necessarily anxiety. If I can catch that now, I can make that shift.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I would say you don't have to necessarily, but if you're like, I want to learn this more or I want to know this more,
Hmm.
getting with a coach, the restoration model has a website, generally speaking, or if people wanted to talk about working with me or another restoration person to
Hmm.
learn this specific model, I can certainly point people in a good direction there. Um, but I always tell people like, take what you already know from the stuff that you help people with,
Hmm.
and maybe some things from our conversation, and see if it moves the needle. And if it
Hmm.
doesn't, like
Then maybe
see about,
reassess. Yeah.
yeah,
It is
yeah.
interesting how much the needle can be moved by some simple adjustments. There was,
Yes.
and it, when I do, because I'll pop into, dip in and out of therapy in different
Yeah.
eras, right? And the last time I was there, it was such a life-changing statement. But again, and funny, it was him telling me like, slow down. It was slowing
Hmm.
down and noticing because I was taking on too much and I was taking
Hmm.
on, wait, taking on too much. And he was like, the reason you're not doing it is because you're going into it too fast and you're saying yes before you're even
Hmm.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
So slow down before you make a commitment. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
And ever since, so, we had like a couple more sessions, but I was like, I think that was kind of the nugget I needed. And so a lot of
Hmm.
times these aren't massive, drawn out, life-changing things that
Hmm.
we do. It's kind of these little realizations that just soften day to day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And I think one thing I had, one, I didn't even give this to a client, but a client did this on their own. She decided in the Christmas season, she's like, I want to make a list of things that are important to me this season. But then on like bigger days when I have family in town or it's the actual holiday, I'm going to make a list of like what's important for today. What do I really want to value? And I think when you say slow down, I think for some people in this particular season, it's like jotting it down. What's important today
Mhm.
or what's important? I just had my father in town. What's important for these 10 days that he's here, right?
Mhm.
And I think it's taking that slow down process and making it
Yeah.
a little overt, I think is really helpful. And yeah, you can just do it. Like
Yep. Yeah.
you're empowered to make those choices. So that's great.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed this as much as I did. I will send everybody an email out so y'all will get the upload of this and our holiday sensory support guide too, just to kind of give you some of those little reminders on one
So
page.
good.
Throw it on the fridge.
Hmm.
And be like, oh
Hmm.
yeah, here's how we're handling this season.
Hmm.
But yeah, if y'all have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to Megan or I.
Yeah.
But that is all I've got for us today. So thanks, Megan, for being here.
Yeah. So fun. Thanks for having me.
For sure. Okay, everybody, back to do all the things. Enjoy the season, and we will see y'all in January.